Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Uncommon Sense number 49. We are almost there for the 50th episode. Dean and I are fresh from a month back, and maybe I'm even a little bit fresher because I know Dean carried a couple of episodes where I couldn't make it. But welcome to those who are live on LinkedIn. If you're there, feel free to comment and join in the conversation. And if you're listening through your favorite podcast provider later, I hope you're enjoying your walk, your drive, or whatever it is that you do when you listen to podcasts. But it's also a very good afternoon to my favorite co-host. He's my only co-host, but he's also my favorite, Mr. Dean Holmes. Welcome, Dean.
G'day, Craig. Good afternoon. Great to be here, of course, and good to see you again. It's we had a few weeks of time off with our holiday in Cebu, but also most importantly, we're back on the bike. So we have very little rules here at UncommonCents. The main one is to keep up the consistency, whatever that may be at any point in time. So yeah, great to be here, Craig.
Fantastic, mate. Now, you mentioned Cebu. You're fresh back from going and visiting your team that's based in Cebu. And so, mate, I thought today, why don't we unpack some of the things that you took that team through and some of the things from a business perspective that you guys have been focusing on. And I know one of the big things that's been, it's a goal that you're working towards into the future is this 4-day work week and how that works. So, and I think you raised it for the first time with the wider team.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a project, and it's been running for this is in Absolute Wealth Advisors, which is my main business that we started with Paul 15 years ago. So Absolute Wealth Advisors is taking on this project at the moment to work towards the goal that the entire staff within the business will work 4 days a week. And there's lots of questions that come up on that, and we've answered some of them, and we have to answer them along the way as well, because it is a project to get there. And so the first thing we know is that the business will be open 5 days a week. So we're not shutting the doors on Friday. So it's a 5-day business that the staff within that business work 4 days, and we'll see how that will roll across. But the team in Australia knew about this goal a few months ago, and then we went to Cebu to talk and introduce it to the broader team. And it was accepted amazingly well as an opportunity. In the language we use is called the gift of the fifth. So that fifth day off is a gift in a couple of different ways. In that you get the work done, you have that fifth day off. As we improve our productivity over time in that business, we get that fifth day off. And so we're now embarking on that journey of not having unnecessary meetings, having shorter meetings, having better focused work, with the goal that in approximately 3 years' time, everyone will be working 4 days a week. And we're staging that starting from July this year. I think
I was going to say there's some good points you just raised there, because I know there will be some people that watch this or have seen this concept on LinkedIn or stuff before. And the business owners who are still more of a traditional sense, who need their office 5 days, who need their team 5 days and all of that, those people tend to cringe when they hear these messages or read these messages on LinkedIn, because they're kind of going, oh, you're making my people think about this stuff and I don't need them thinking about that because that's not how my business operates. But just to drill on that point, you're not actually saying we're going to just give them a day off and make them do less. This is about re-engineering the same content of work, if not more, but rewarding them if they can do it in 4 days.
Absolutely. So it's a productivity focus first and foremost. And so by saving time on certain things, by avoiding certain things, we can actually get the same volume of work done within 4 days. So it's not working longer hours, but it's working in a more focused way to make sure we're getting the right things done at the right time across the business. So to do this, we won't need extra staff, but there will be some process changes, there's technological changes, and there's attitude changes in order to get all of those productivity enhancements over time.
Perfect.
And Craig, why are we doing it is probably a great question that you should have asked me. So let's pretend you did. But the science is telling us there's a 4-day week movement that's been in place. It started in New Zealand, but it's going around the world. And the data is showing us that staff are happier and more engaged once they get to the point of four days a week. And so we wanted to head towards that as at a leadership team. And we realized that there's very little advantage in just Paul and some of the advisors working 4 days a week if we couldn't work it out for the entire team. And so by working it out for the entire team and the business, therefore, we actually become an employer of choice. Frankly, both here in Australia and in Cebu in the Philippines, is that we will attract people to our business that are attracted to the idea of working in this particular way, which is disciplined and hardworking, but then having this gift of the fifth. So we'll attract the right people to come to our company as a result that want to work in this way.
Fantastic. Now, mate, you also talk sometimes about tools of trade, right? Like, I know in past episodes we've talked about the plumber can't show up without the right tools and get all those other things done, etc. You've got a team that's either here and offshore. And so what did you do with that team when you were there to make sure that they do have the right tools of trade and they're functioning?
Yeah, absolutely. This was a small but important part of just being over there. And that was just to make sure that what we were being told by our partners that we work with in terms of running the team over there, and also our team work from home, so getting a bit of ground floor understanding, is just to make sure that they had the right equipment and that equipment was fit for purpose, which is the whole tools of trade thing that I spoke to about. And so sometimes it's easier to get those answers when you're sitting across from someone face to face, but we actually got to the point where we realized a couple of our staff members didn't have as good chairs as what they should have. One person was using a mouse that they were using their own stuff instead of the company one, and a couple of little quirks like that. And so the reminder for all of us is that if we've got these teams, we should be checking in on our conditions as well. So if we want to be an employer of choice, the idea is we're paying people the right salary. You might be working 4 or 5 days a week, but then you've got the right equipment to do your job. And so when I was hearing stories that their computer was a little bit slow, or they're working on an old laptop and things like that, in Australia, we wouldn't necessarily stand for that. We'd just go down to JB Hi-Fi and buy a new XYZ. And it's a little bit more difficult in Cebu, but the message, I suppose, is to get into the detail of those things, because it means a lot for the staff if you help solve those problems. And there's a bit of hierarchy, so they don't always feel comfortable raising that up the line. So we got to have really frank and honest conversations around this and a few other things, which just meant we could find out the truth and the answers. And so we're making sure that everyone's got the right tools of trade to do their job, as if it frankly doesn't matter where they're based around the world.
And that's a really good, that might seem minuscule to many, right? But if that's constantly in the back of someone's mind, like, oh, this doesn't work, but I don't want to ask, and all of that kind of thing, it's really important that people feel motivated with their tools of trade, because it's amazing how like a new mouse that works better can make, I know it sounds small, but how it makes someone feel that this is so much easier now, I feel better. And
yeah, absolutely. We give our staff get given headphones. They get given headphones when they start, but after 12 months, we buy them a proper pair of Jabra headphones. And so they're on the phones and using these things 8 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. And so the quality is important because we're using them, and we want to have the access to those things for everyone to use.
It's funny how the evolution of that's occurred, isn't it? Like, it used to be good enough to have a laptop. Then it turned into I need a laptop and a monitor. Then it turned into I need a laptop and 2 monitors.
Two monitors,
I need a webcam. And it's funny now all of a sudden you're on one little monitor and you feel like you can't do anything anymore.
Correct. Yeah, I hear that there's people out there that run 3 monitors. The power consumption must be off the charts. But
Yeah.
yes, the demands are changing over time. But everyone should have the equipment that they need, and that goes for everyone. Doesn't matter where they're located, Craig. Getting this idea that if you work remotely from home, you should have a setup and a facility with a high quality chair and screen and desk and all those kind of things as if you're in the office. And some companies might feel because they're letting their staff work from home that they don't have the same obligations to make sure they're safe in their home. And I think that needs to be reviewed and checked, because I can imagine there can be workers' compensation and sore back claims from working from home. And unless you do something about it, you can't really control where they sit in their homes.
Yep. So, mate, the team must be feeling great. They're working towards a 4-day week, understanding that they're going to have to change the way they work and be more efficient and more productive and all of that type of stuff. Their tools of trade are all sorted.
Yep.
The only thing missing from a trip to Cebu is a good analogy, and I think you've got one of those as well. So tell us about the cocoa farmer who tried chocolate for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the cocoa farmer story, it's a little bit old. It's probably 10 years old if you were to Google it, Craig. But essentially, this particular reporter from the UK flew across to the cocoa farms and took chocolate with him to go and visit the cocoa farmers. And for the first time in 30 years, the cocoa farmer who was farming cocoa was able to taste chocolate for the first time. Okay. And so we've all tasted chocolate, have no idea how cocoa beans are necessarily grown. But the chocolate gave the cocoa farmer context for what he was doing. And so he was farming this particular thing, and it was made into this delicious delicious chocolate. So what did we do in one of the sessions while we were there? Is we actually sat down and I was interviewing the advisors of Absolute Wealth Advisors, which there's 4. I was interviewing the advisors about the life-changing personal stories that advisors do for their clients. And so these are goosebump related things that we helped. There were stories of what happened when a client passed away overseas, and we helped the partner with just practical logistics. No SOAs. This is translating death certificates and helping getting a body back to Australia, to going through a divorce and helping through that, going through death of loved ones, going through just dealing with this financial stress, and then being able to work with an advisor and resolve that. And so advisors know this all of the time. We do this, but our staff don't always get to see the conversations, hear the conversations, or understand the impact that they are having on the end client. Okay. Yeah. We have 2 girls that had tears in their eyes around these stories around the room, Craig, because it gave them some context for the small jobs that they do, how that allows for the advisor and therefore the business to help clients and help change their lives. And so we gave our staff the chocolate in this context, that we gave the staff the taste of the chocolate to let them know that although they're doing a small part of the process, the true impact that the sum of all those processes make on a client's life. And it was the best session that we did, and we almost cut it and didn't do it. Ross, if you're listening, he came up with the idea, and we almost cut it. Sorry, Ross, you know that though. But yeah, we were so impressed with how it went that I've pretty well been telling everyone since I got back, this is the most important thing that we did. This is how powerful it was. And Absolute Wealth Advisors, one of their actions was to make sure, Craig, that every month in their team meetings now, they actually just celebrate one client's story with the entire team. So the advisors know it and get it. And we've got 10 or 15 years worth of stories, but our staff, especially if they've only worked with us for a couple of years, the staff don't necessarily know all these stories. And so we're sharing stories.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. And along those similar lines, I heard something recently as well, in terms of I had a firm who was looking to do business with our organisation, and they wanted to speak to someone else who had recently joined and been through the process, etc. And he said to me at the end, he goes, after speaking to that other advisor, the last thing he left me with is, I could tell you all about this and that and da 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 da, but since working with them, I've noticed my team are happier.
Mm.
And that one kind of in the similar vein of, there's all the things we do, but what's the actual end result? And in the work that we do, you don't quite often link it to, my team are happier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you hear those things and you start to go, actually, that's why we do what we do.
Correct.
Because
So that's
ultimately,
absolutely, and that's a good thing. And that is the team. Our team have a better context, but that you can say that the team are happier through that way as well. So Craig, that was the Cebu trip. So there was a few other things and a lot of bonding and networking and things like that amongst the team. It had been 4 years since we had been there last, just with COVID slowing down the times that we'd been there, and so. That was an Absolute Wealth Advisors conference that had 18 people at it, 6 from Australia and 12 from Cebu. So we're really excited and proud about how that team's come together. So Craig, my turn to ask you a few questions now. So you're going through some change as well. So I thought it'd be good to talk to you about this change management and change that's going on for you. And so your Headco was purchased recently. And so that settled this week. And so with that creates that change, which is happening, creates a couple of things. It creates a little bit of uncertainty, creates a little bit of he said, she said, or unknowns, and known knowns and known unknowns. So I'd love you to talk to us about how you're thinking, firstly, about like the change management of the change.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I mean, change does funny things in our industry. I think there's a whole past that, has been created that when change of this nature occurs, and, as Dean said, for those playing along at home, our parent company has changed. So, we now have a new parent company. And when those things have traditionally occurred in our industry in the past, it's caused a whole heap of things to occur. The practices buying those services tend to go into doubt mode. Other people who provide those services tend to flood those practices with "we do it better" notifications to try and win new business through those changes. And a whole lot of stuff can occur that sometimes in the past became a little bit to be romanticized by this stuff. And to be quite frank, all of that gets in the way of an advisor running their advice business and seeing their clients. And so having done it once and now twice, some of the key things that come out of that, Dean, are number one, communicate when you can and communicate all that you can. So there's no point in holding back information. Now, sometimes depending on your parent company structure, for example, if they're listed, you're bound by times where you can and can't communicate. But the thing I think the most of is, number one, when you can communicate and communicate everything you can.
Yep.
Because clarity and focus is really important. And it's the not knowing that disrupts people around you. So you've got to try and give them as much clarity and focus as you can. I think, what the industry's done well again in the past when these things have happened is it's allowed for, cynicism to come through with the people on the end of that change. Oh, sure, they're going to say this, but do that. But it's, being in the right parent that, does what it says it's going to do. And ensuring people feel that and understand that as well. But it's also taking a breath and sort of going, okay, we've had some new change. We know that our clients like what they've been receiving. So how do you continue to provide what they're receiving? Take a breath and actually go and have a look through all of the new wonderful things you've potentially got access to now that you didn't have before, because the new parent is always going to have an array of services that they've been utilizing, and some of those things might be better. And so what you've got to do is take a big, deep breath and pop the hood on that and work through what you could potentially implement that has good outcomes for your clients and good outcomes for your business as well.
Yep.
And so what it's about personally, Dean, is not getting caught up in the emotion of it, which can be very easy because, you've got lots of people going, will I still have a role? Will I still be able to execute on what I want to do? Will I still work for the company that I've been working for? Will that? So if you can remove all of that emotion aside and strip it back to the basics of change, which is change is happening whether you like it or not. Like that is the only constant.
Indeed.
And so then how do I fit into that change? How do I find all of the benefits of that change? And how do I keep the people who are currently engaged with our organization on track that they're not losing the discipline and focus of their business because our change occurred?
Yeah, and let's talk about that one for a little bit, because that's the just because you're changing doesn't mean I have to change, and the chance that you put disruption in your business based on this external change that wasn't in your business plan. And so,
Yes.
from a business planning context, I've been saying, like, just because change is happening to over there to that service provider, and it can be, you're an example, but, Hub24 or any other external product provider has change at any point in time. Just because they're changing doesn't mean you have to change today. And it's all about checking your business plan and making sure that you want to distract yourself with this thing now. And so most of taking this as the analogy, but just putting it on the list, is that we're going to hold new service code to a high standard and review it in the future. But I don't want to distract myself now when I don't even know what the change is going to be. And there may not be a change. And so like jumping at there's a chance that you jump at shadows if you don't follow that unemotional, disciplined approach of going, let's just wait and see if there is change before I waste my energy doing anything as a result.
Yeah. And I think you've seen evolutions of these things. You've obviously seen suppliers in the licensee space get really big in the past and do it because, it's almost, I don't want to say without thinking, but it's just like go for size, go for size, go for size, versus the experience I've had where actually, it would be nicer to be bigger because it would bring scale and those type of things, but also find something to grow with where synergies attract.
Yep.
Right. And where things seem the same and where culture seems the same. And, to be part of a small business with big ideas, I think that's really important, right? Is that, one of the things through this change is we're still going to constantly think like a small business. And we might have some big ideas for that, but if you always adopt and think through like a small business, then you're always going to manage that change that little bit better, I think. And, one of the other things I saw too, Dean, through change, which will happen to any advice business even listening along, is sometimes you're going to have to change stuff and you're going to then have to manage your team through that change as well. And one of the things I sat back and noticed through our change in terms of all of the people working in company A that was being bought by company B, no one dropped the ball. Everyone stayed focused. Everyone kept doing their job. Everyone kept looking after their clients, but that wasn't a fluke, right? That was to do with the leadership of the company. And again, communicating when you can and communicating everything you can. That was also to do with an exceptional human resource function. And I'm not talking about a massive human resources team. You're not talking about one person thinking about the team members, and creating fun events and environments for them to come together, to be together, to, maybe ask the questions they've got, but just also have some time out and sort of reflect and chill together. That also really, really helped get to the stage where nothing was dropped on the transition from A to B, which was really lovely to watch.
I think the people component we can take a lesson from, Craig, in terms of when we're thinking about making any change in our financial planning business, we've got to be aware of the impact that might have on the people that are actually doing all the work, half the work, 3/4 of the work. Just what is it that you make one decision at the leadership team, but we've got to be aware of how the impact that has of the team overall, And then, as you say, be aware to manage that energy and communication flow, so that the work might still need to be done, but you can manage it in a proper way, so you're cognizant of that additional stress that you might be placing on the team overall.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Yeah,
So
look, I
that's
mean, do the
so
right
I took
thing,
from
mate.
that, like, the communication when you can, all that you can. I think that that's really important and needs to be clear. And you've got, whenever we're doing any of this, there's a variety of stakeholders, because we've got to think about internally communicating to our staff, externally to our clients potentially. And this goes to when you're buying a financial planning business as well. You've got all those
Exactly.
different stakeholders at the same time, managing the people. And I think this whole thing of going slower is that last message that you landed in, that just because the change happened yesterday doesn't mean there's change today as a result. And so everyone can slow down, because everyone still has a day job. And that goes to when we acquire a financial planning business, we're changing product providers, wrap accounts, or redoing SOAs for any reason. Like, slowing down and making it a project and assessing all the information before moving is incredibly valuable.
Most definitely, mate. That's my favorite part of that, right? Is to take that breath.
Mm.
And that's had to be trained over time, because I love a shiny new toy.
And can you do the bull in the China shop analogy as well, if you like?
You can throw that one out too. But you just gotta calm down. Just be calm and make assessments and implement slowly.
Very good. Very good. So that's us, Craig. That was episode 49. So we've got a couple of good episodes coming up for those that do watch at home and upcoming. So we've got number 50. John Pearl, we're doing an interview with him, and some push-ups I think we have to do as well, Craig, as part of that. And then Jason Dunn the fortnight after as well. So good couple of fortnights we have interviewing some high performers, both with financial planning experience as well. So looking forward to both of those over the next couple of weeks. And until then, thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Bye, everyone.